Hello, and welcome to another fully live Q&A episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Kody Kinzie. I am a security researcher at Varonis, and today you might notice that we are in potato quality, and that is because our streaming provider, Restream, has downgraded our account for no reason. So sorry about the delay today and the quality, and also the lack of ability to schedule these events. I think we're probably going to go with someone else pretty soon. But anyway, it's good to be back and live with everyone. We had a couple of our videos last week get a lot of attention, especially the one talking about why electronics were exploding. So I have some electronics related stuff today to talk about and also some interesting tools. So it's good to see everybody on the stream. Let me pull up the chat as well. I'm not trying to censor you. Hello, James. And I'm also going to talk about the upcoming Hackaday SuperCon and one of my ideas for we'll call it a simple add-on. So a simple add-on, or just known as an SAO, is a standard that a lot of different conference badges use in order to allow you to just plug something in and make it either like a blinky badge or maybe something that reacts to a sensor or some sort of input. There's all sorts of these kind of smaller sub badges. And what's nice about them is you don't really need to plan for power. They have a standard in, standard out that plug into a larger badge. And that larger, like, host badge provides all of the power and information necessary to run that smaller badge. So this has been a tradition for a while. It's kind of a way for people who are getting into electronics to be able to try out their very first board. So if you've been considering making a simple add-on, or if you've ever wanted to make a piece of hardware, I am going to be doing it myself. I'm trying to limit myself and make it so that out of my entire team of people with wild and crazy ideas, I am so far the only one that has a prototype that's working. Sorry, no, I'm third in line after the engineers on my team. So I want to give them the credit where credit is due. They've already ordered their boards, whereas I am just getting started. But having an idea that's relatively simple, I think is key to making a simple add-on. So I am going to show off a couple of things that I've been working on. Let me see. Oh, of course. All of the progress that I had on this setup is now gone. All right, so I'm going to add an extra camera right here. Let's see if I can also show it. And this is my idea for a prototype simple add-on. So I was inspired by these stickers that I got at a past conference, and they are kind of like cat tarot card themed. I just thought these were really cool. I'd never seen anything exactly like them. The artist told me that I think that they were like partially like AI created, or there was some AI involved. But I was just like, I don't care. Like these are really interesting. They're cool. Like they have a very simple but recognizable design. So I wanted to make something that's about that sized and make it kind of a way of looking into the beyond, looking to something that is invisible. So, all right, if I want to make one of these simple add-ons, and I like this cool like cat like tarot card design, which again, I love. I traded these for electronics at DEF CON, and it was one of the best trades I made while I was there. So if I wanted to make something that looks into the beyond and can see the invisible, then what could I do? Well, all right, so this is my idea. I'm going to be using these really cute little chips. Let me find them. I have more things to talk about. I'm going to be using these, what are they called? ESP32S3 zeros. So these are super small. They're the size of like a postage stamp or smaller, and they have the ability to like do all kinds of cool stuff. But one of those things is see Wi-Fi packets. So if I put this into monitor mode and it's listening and it's discerning all those packets, then I can actually interpret those packets in real time and sort them in interesting ways. So, all right, I've got this cool little microcontroller. It's the size of a postage stamp. I want to make like a simple add-on that's going to have some sort of like, seeing the invisible. How can I organize these in a way that's cool and interesting? Well, I follow somebody on Twitter who's incredibly cool, Anecdata, and or Anecdata. I don't know which one they go by now, but either way, they come out with some really cool CircuitPython projects, and one of them was this RGB matrix that actually is able to react to Wi-Fi packets and sort them by channel. So they, I guess, live in a place where there are 14 Wi-Fi channels. Must be nice. And they were using this Adafruit 14 row LED matrix. Now this is controlled over I2C. I don't have one of these, and it's not a standard size, so it's a little, it's a little unusual in terms of like hardware. But I was inspired by this. I was like, okay, cool. If I can use the same microcontroller to sort through packets and then kind of divide them by the like Wi-Fi channel that they're on, then this is such an interesting start. Like, I think this is really cool. So I was like, all right, if I could use this example code, which is freely provided here, and adapt it to a different type of display, then that would be really cool. So if I wanted to integrate this into a badge design, that I thought like something like a clock or something that's round and divided up into 12 segments like a clock is, would be the perfect way of doing this in the United States, where we have 12 Wi-Fi channels that we use. So the setup is then this. I have, let me go back to my screen where I can switch. Turning that off. Here we go. All right. So I have all the different Wi-Fi channels here, which each 3 LED segment is actually showing off its own Wi-Fi channel. And in real time, this is showing all the Wi-Fi traffic around me. So each slice of this paper plate and these 3 LEDs is indicating, for example, channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, and you can see which channels have the most activity on them. Now, what's also cool about this little design is it's separating the channels, it's separating the LED pulses into colors. And each of those colors means something different. A blue one is a beacon frame. It's basically an access point that's advertising itself. So if there were a bunch of access points all clustered on a particular channel, then we would see them represented there. They would constantly be beaconing. We can see channel 6, for example, has a ton of traffic, and a lot of that are blue beacon frames. The green ones are devices that are basically calling out for network. So these are things like laptops, cell phones, and other things around me that are making requests for an access point to join. So we can see on here, there's specific channels that access points that these client devices are present on and calling out for, which is cool because we can start to see like what channels have a lot of access points that are connected, and then which ones do not have connected devices and instead have devices that are calling out and trying to connect. And then there's a couple other colors as well. The yellow ones, which keep popping up, are other types of management frames. So that could be like a Wi-Fi handshake, an authentication frame, or other sorts of things that are managing a Wi-Fi connection. And then what's curious is I don't really see very often, there are purple frames as well, and those are data frames. And that's when we have a device that's exchanging data. So one thing that's kind of noteworthy is when you take out a device like a cell phone and then you unlock it, it causes a burst of Wi-Fi traffic. So if I look here, I can see that a bunch of things are signing back in or checking back in, and it's cool to be able to see the actual effect of like your device like rejoining a Wi-Fi network or turning Wi-Fi on or something like that. So I found this to be pretty cool and interesting. And then I want to show you what an attack looks like. So over here, I have a Wi-Fi nugget, and it is ready to do an attack. Now, one thing is I can change this attack as well. If I want to do beacon frames, so remember, beacon frames are the blue ones. I can hit start, and it's setting out all these blue beacon frames. And actually, I can actually see the plate is mostly blue right now because it's just being blasted with beacon frames. So if I stop that attack, and then let's do probe frames instead. So probe frames are green. So now we can see, hopefully, the plate should turn mostly green because we're blasting out all these probe requests and making it look like all these devices are nearby, which is cool. We can see that. So now let's do a real attack. So I set this up to also filter for deauthentication packets and basically turn red. So if I do an attack, I'm going to start the attack now. This should be able, there we go, to detect the attack, and it's freaking out. And it's warning everyone that there's Wi-Fi attacks going on in the area. Now I have this set to make all of every single segment turn red and kind of freak out and let everyone know like, oh, we're under attack. There's an attack underway. But I think in the final version, I'll have something like one of these mystical tarot cats that has like glowing eyes and make those eyes like glow in response to like an attack going on. And then maybe only have the LED animation on the specific channel that's being attacked. So that way you get a little bit more information about what channel's under attack. Because right now it just says like an attack is underway. And I kind of like how dramatic it is. But yeah, I might modify it a little bit. So I changed this code that Anecdot started with. Like I modified it to be more of like a fading animation and to be a little bit more pleasing to the eye. I increased the speed a little bit. I tried to make it use both cores of this microcontroller, and unfortunately, that did not work for me in CircuitPython. So I would have to switch to a different language. But anyway, so this is my first prototype of what I'm planning on putting together, hopefully for Hackaday SuperCon. If not, then for another example of a simple add-on. And if you want to see, again, what a simple add-on is, I think I have the art. Oh, yes, I have the article pulled up. Let me share it. All right, so the simple add-on, also known by other names, has been a standard for a long time of making these really cool kind of artistic PCBs. And you can see they plug into these bigger badges and allow you to use the power and sometimes data provided by that badge to do certain things. And these can do all sorts of stuff. So the standard add-on for this used to be like this. It was a square, VCC, SDA, SCL, and ground. But in the more recent versions, it has been restructured and made it so that for one, it's more difficult to flip. And for two, you can add data. So these add-ons have gotten more complicated. They look like parasites, honestly, on these. They look like this Pikachu looks like it's like feeding on this bigger badge. And in some ways, I guess they kind of are. But the new standard allows you to also pass data. It is keyed, so you won't be able to mess it up and have it going in the wrong direction. And it looks like this. So you have 3.3 volts, you have ground, you have SDA, SEL, and then 2 GPIO pins for connecting like sensors or like other stuff like that. So lots of different things that you can then plan for as a badge designer. And then as a simple add-on creator, you can basically bank on these things all being connected and maybe providing you with what you need to drive a cool add-on. So I think my add-on in particular doesn't really rely on that. I'm just trying to visualize the beyond. I'm trying to make things that are invisible visible with this cool little badge. So the price is going to be a little higher than I wanted because, you know, typically you want these to be like as cheap as possible. But yeah, in general, I thought that this was a pretty cool little add-on. So I'm going to let you guys go with me through the process of creating this. And what's cool about this also is I can adapt it to other things. Because this is just a system on a paper plate at the moment, that means that I don't really need to do very much to adapt this to other form factors. So for example, if our wonderful sponsor Varonis decided they wanted their own version of this that visualizes attacks and like gives information about what's going on, then I could easily adapt it into another a bunch of other different formats. So I, in particular, just love this little microcontroller. I don't think I can get that close with it. Oh yeah, but there we go. This thing is so completely tiny, and the fact that we can use this to control all of that and make a bunch of like Wi-Fi attacks and stuff visible. I'm just kind of scratching the surface of what you can do with this. But the fact that I can see all this traffic in real time, again, this is just our paper plate version, but making invisible things visible with this little badge, seeing the unseen, and kind of that cool, cute tarot cat idea was my inspiration for this. So anyway, that's what I'm continuing to work on for Hackaday SuperCon. I haven't made very much hardware myself. This was a fun modification to existing CircuitPython code, so I'm looking forward to also making some custom hardware for it. But essentially, the hardware I'm going to make is going to be a place to solder on this tiny little microcontroller badge, or on this tiny little microcontroller, the ESP32 S30, and then also just NeoPixels to light up and make this cool visualization of Wi-Fi. All right, so also going through the chat real quick. Sorry, guys, I got all taken up by that. Where can we find our my Discord server? That's a great question. I think nugget.dev, NUGGET.dev is the shortest and easiest place you can find access to our Discord server. I get a lot of news and updates and other things shared with me on our Discord server. So if you're there, thank you for sharing stuff with me. I'm going to prove that I'm also checking in on it by showing off some of the stuff that I found on there today. But yeah, so nugget.dev I think is the fastest way to find it. We used to be able to do nugget.lol, but somebody reported it as a phishing link. And I think it was because I didn't have the secure like anti-spoofing whatever set up in it. I just registered it as like a quick shortcut, and then somebody sent spam email spoofed as it, and it got reported and then shut down so many times that I just got tired of putting it back up. So there, I didn't create a short link anymore, but you can find it there, is the answer. From what I can tell, Blinky light is mandatory. Thank you, James. Yeah, I would say when you're designing something for the first time, like let's say that you want to make a Blinky badge. It's literally just like a piece of art and then like 2 eyes that like light up. Just as simple as that. That sort of thing is really, really easy to do. You would need just like a resistor or 2. You would need, yeah, that's about it. Like, so the hardware is not crazy. Putting it together would be really simple and easy, and making it reactive or blinky is something that's not very difficult. So if you're looking for a first time thing, I tend to overcomplicate everything. So you don't need to do all the blinky crazy stuff I'm doing. You could just have regular LEDs or LEDs that you just give them power and they cycle through different colors. Like those are really cool too. If you want to try making your own, I'm going to go through what I'm learning as I'm doing it and try to produce some in relatively short order. But yeah, having one that's cybersecurity related and one that is essentially just a bunch of LEDs and blinky, but doesn't require a lot of hardware experience is my idea. So we'll see if I can get away with it. Hardware people tend to yell at me because I ignore a lot of things involving like resistors protecting LEDs or like adding certain pieces of hardware to like smooth out the current flow. I'm like, you know, like just do it. Let's just do it. Eliminate any unnecessary parts. Let's just try it. So we'll see how far that design ethos gets me with designing a little add-on board. But blinky is not necessarily mandatory, but it's certainly helpful. I will say I've seen some pretty crazy ones, including one that was a Geiger counter. So that one just made noises. Yeah, it's not necessarily mandatory, but it is a good place to start. Yeah, probe request. So I mentioned that on this little thing that I built, it was visualizing the different packets in different ways, and probe requests were one of the 2 things that I see the most of. So if I pull my camera back up here, you can see that the green ones, the green flashes are indicating that there's a device on that frequency that is calling out for and requesting a Wi-Fi network to join. And typically this is going to be my phone, my laptop, like, or any other Wi-Fi enabled device that is trying to join a Wi-Fi network in order to get data. So you'll see that different devices will ping on different frequencies. When I unlock my phone, it will also tend to unlock a flurry of different packets that are representing association requests, or yeah, in this case, I can see like handshakes and other things going out as it attempts to find networks nearby to join. So yeah, I love being able to see evidence of what's going on in ways that are invisible to the human eye. And this sort of like sorting and visualization of packets, again, credit goes out to Anecdot for making something incredibly cool that kind of inspired me to apply this to a more simple interface. The way that their code works specifically was for an I2C grid that's very specific, but I just wanted to be able to use regular NeoPixels, maybe a NeoPixel grid, but I thought that this might actually be the better way to represent that, since of all the ways to divide something into 12 different parts, a clock kind of seems like the most logical one. Boards are expensive. PCBWay is good, but it does cost. So I have some tips on this. So for example, I'm going to be putting together a bunch of LEDs onto a board in order to make this work. I haven't decided if I want to be fancy about it and make them backwards and then try to have them glow through the board, or if I want to be regular about it and just have them on the front. And I think I'll probably be regular about it because I'm already kind of pushing things here. So when you get these boards made, let's say that you wanted to make like 50 of them. Like that's probably going to cost like 50 to 60 bucks, like if it's like $1 a board. And if you pay to assemble them, that's more. But you can always do things like solder pasting them. So if you are getting a bunch of these boards made and you have a bunch of, for example, LEDs to put on the front, it's a relatively simple one. You can pay for a stencil that you can basically put on top and then spread solder paste on top of, place the LEDs very quickly on top, and then put it in like an oven or on top of a hot plate, and then basically bake them on really quickly. So when we have boards that are just using LEDs, that's actually what we do. We'll get a stencil and we'll kind of paste them, and we'll save a bunch of money on the boards by doing the assembly ourselves. So it is an option to do some of these blinky boards or some of these boards that just require like a NeoPixel put on each board, or maybe several of them. Get a stencil, kind of put the paste on yourself, and then place them, bake them in groups of 5 or 10, and you can save some money. Like the hot plates are crazy. You can get them from China for like $60 or so, and they get so incredibly hot, and they make a bunch of smells that are probably not good for you. But overall, like they're relatively easy to work with, and they can save you some money if you're making boards like this. I would have gone so far in military intelligence. Yeah, no, I probably would have. My grandfather was in the Air Force, and I considered briefly going into that. And like, I've always been interested in signals intelligence and ciphers and stuff. Like, I can imagine where they would put me. But I didn't want to cut my hair or wake up early in the morning. That was the primary reason why. I'm just not a morning person. Never have been. Most of my life decisions have been dictated by this. So, yes, you all were saved from whatever horrible thing I would have created by lack of want to cut hair and wake up early. Nice hat. Thank you. Verona's had some good ones. This nice and simple one was one of my favorite ones. Verona's in general has some pretty good swag, I have to say. They always hit one out of the park every year, and I think like it was the hat this year. But Life is a Breach is my other favorite piece of Veronis merch that I've gotten, that every time I wear, like the new people are jealous because it was the best one I think that we've ever made. We also have a bunch of really cool securityfwd stickers that I've been giving out, like business cards. So if you see me at like an event, at Hackaday SuperCon, at a class that I'm doing in person, I always have these stickers on me now. I cleaned out the Veronis booth the last time that we had the conference. So black hat. So yeah, I have tons of them, and I'm happy to give those out as well. Let's see. Hey, what's up? I want to know how those scammers catching people get exact location from Wi-Fi. It sounds cool. Okay, so what's really interesting is if you can find the location, or sorry, if you can see nearby Wi-Fi networks, you can geolocate a device in most cases. And that's a result of things like Google Street View and other things where they've driven around, they've sourced all the different networks locations, and then they've reported that back to an API that's constantly building a map of where every wireless access point is. So in general, like smartphones are also a part of this network where they're reporting back the location of wireless networks and building this map of where every access point is located. And as a result, instead of using GPS, most devices can locate where they are by just looking at a couple wireless access points nearby, hitting an API, and then getting a geolocation back based on the signal strength of the access points they can see. These APIs are called AGPS, or assisted GPS, and they're a major way that devices figure out where they are and are able to get their location in a city or another place that has really congested GPS. Now, it's also funny because you can spoof this. And I was talking to somebody at Null Space Labs who was trying to spoof the location of devices by basically putting them in a bag so that they couldn't communicate with the real satellite, and then creating fake Wi-Fi networks to like create the appearance of them being close to like Mark Zuckerberg's pool, for example. This caused them to use a fallback system that's less accurate, assisted GPS, to determine the location. And provided he was also able to provide like an Ethernet connection and was like tethering over Ethernet, he was then able to make these devices believe they were somewhere that they weren't, without needing to do any sort of modification to the phone. So that was pretty impressive to me. So that is how devices can use nearby Wi-Fi networks to determine their location. There's lots of different services that do this, but in general, most cell phones will automatically do this unless you explicitly disable it in order to find out where they are. Oh, wow, look at that. Veronis is a top choice for organizations providing deep data visibility, classification capabilities, and automated remediation for data access and merge. Thank you so much for saying that. Yes, and I will say, of all the different vendors you can stop by and grab merch from, Veronis tends to have some of the very best. Can we do a tutorial on that? I actually did it. I did one. So back in my Nullbyte days, I did a video talking about spoofing assisted GPS in a very, very smelly part of the, oh my gosh, I think it was the Glendale Galleria. We went into the parking garage and found a very isolated area that did not get any sort of GPS reception and wasn't receiving any other Wi-Fi signals either. And then we spoofed Mark Zuckerberg's Wi-Fi pool network or something, different devices that were nearby. And that was enough to make my device think that we were there. Which was cool. So it is very possible to spoof GPS. You can follow my Nullbyte tutorial on how to do that. It's the same method of doing so, should work just fine. Veronis just dropped a video on the Veronis channel with Killian in it. So yeah, you might not be aware that when I originally signed on at Veronis, they're like, yeah, so do you want to take over like the Veronis brand channel? And I was like, no, I don't. too much stuff goes on there. I want to create a channel that's very specific, that's like for you guys, for like this audience. It isn't like, you know, kind of like a variety of different things. However, a number of different things have been emerging on the Verona's channel that I think are really good. And of course, our sometimes co-host Killian is on there doing his own thing. He's done a number of different series on there, actually. And also we have our own Megan, who's also doing the speed data series. So if you want to check out some cool content, I would say the Verona's channel has become full of really excellent content. Whereas when I very first got started, it was a little random. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put content on that channel or if I wanted to do my own. I ultimately decided to do my own. But now looking back at it, Killian is making some really great stuff. And I'm glad to see that evolving. Let's see. I think PCBWay with assembly might be a good option if you only need a few and don't have the components. It's expensive to just grab a few of each component, so you end up buying bulk anyway. Yeah, I found that if you're not making like 100 of something, then doing a run of PCBs and like doing it all yourself is actually kind of expensive. If you can get like a bulk manufacturer to just like buy the stuff for you and then do the assembly and then just ship it to you, either complete or almost complete, then it saves a lot of time and energy and effort, but not money. It does cost a little bit more. I will say that, yeah, if you are buying a certain amount of components, people tend to want to sell them in bulk. And like there are price breaks when you get up to like 50 or 100 of these sorts of things. So I know for me anyway, I'm going to be buying these little stamp-sized microcontrollers at probably like $4 or $5 a piece, like on AliExpress, and then soldering them on myself. But all the rest is going to be done via the PCB manufacturer because it's just soldering on NeoPixels. Although if I had to, the way that I mentioned with stencils is pretty much the only way to be able to do that, especially with tiny components that might be difficult to place otherwise. Okay, let's see. Show me 3 SAOs with no blinky lights. Yeah, I know. Okay, that would be difficult, but they do exist. They do exist. They're out there. All right, so I wanted to show off a couple other things. Let me share my screen. So I do, in fact, watch my own Discord server for interesting things, good ideas. And I found the #1 best way to get in trouble while attempting to check in for a flight. Let me speed this up. I don't know if my volume wasn't working or if there's just no volume at all, but here we go. So this is a cyber deck that fits inside the frame of a backpack. So it's like a Furby. It has like a bunch of horrifying electronics on the inside and then a cute exterior that makes people comfortable enough to use it. So, oops, sorry, James. I don't mean to continue to put you on blast. There we go. This was posted in our Discord server, and I just have to say, for all the things that hackers love, this touches everything for me. It's got a great power supply rack here for, you know, maximum power. Again, I would not take this on an airplane in any way, shape, or form. We've got racks for all this great wireless equipment. It's even got specific areas for your flipper. And it's got different layers and cooling as well. Oh, of course, the 7-port USB hub. How could I forget? This has pretty much everything. And for a hacker who wants to have as many pieces of gear on them as possible and doesn't care about like answering questions when they get caught, this seems to be the ultimate setup that I've seen. I don't know. There's no storage for other things. It's all just hacking stuff. Like it's 100% non-innocent looking, menacing style electronics. So this is, yeah, like pretty much everything you would want. You can plug into the USB hub in order to get access to all of your hacking tools. My God. Yeah, this is just like, again, very suspicious looking. So as we go further in the tutorial, you get to see the final layer. We've got like, we've got cooling built in. We got some pretty serious alpha wireless stuff going on. I can't think of anything else to add. I'm going to say for the 3rd time in a row that I don't recommend bringing this on an airplane. But if you're just walking around on a pen test and you need to have like a JanSport backpack that is just pure evil on the inside, then this seems like it fits the bill. Yeah, that's, I don't know what else to say. So if you want to check out this build, it's in our Discord server. This YouTube channel in particular is going through all the different ways you can configure and set it up. I have to say I'm intrigued by the build. I think that insofar as like things that make it so you can just build and build and build and build on all the things you're learning and all the hardware that you're testing out. This is a modular 3D printed, kind of racked up way of doing it. So I'm very impressed by this, and I would like to try it out sometime. I just don't know if I have the budget to fully pack it out, because I know what most of these things are, but there's a number of them that I now have to go and look up and see if I have to add to my own hacking arsenal. Yes, I agree. The frame is awesome on this. It is incredibly cool. So yeah, if you hadn't seen this, you now have something to tell all of your friends who owe you one what you want for Christmas. They've got time. Oh yes, of course, it mounts the Flipper Zero. With the added, oh no, wait, okay, I thought they were adding the antenna to the Flipper. Yeah, so you can see the front of the rack, the back of the rack. It's just nonstop electronics stuff. I'm impressed by it. I want to see more. So anyway, thank you for sending this in. I appreciate, as I said, all the different scoops on things to check out, in particular ones that look like this sketchy bag. Oh yeah, and I also wanted to shout out, we put out another video last week to our second part of 2 Truths and an AI. You can be part of this every Friday, where we go over the hacker news, but a lot of this was stuff that people would not believe. So in particular, people just refuse to consider the emojis from Discord like hack, where somebody was using Discord emojis to control a C2 server to disguise their communication. One of my favorite 2 Truths and an AI that we've done. So getting to go to conferences and interview my coworkers and see if they can guess what is the real news and what is AI generated is one of my favorite things I get to do. So if you haven't checked this out, make sure you do. It was a lot of fun. And if you come by our booth, you can also be on this channel doing this as well, winning some gift cards or something fun, or just some more of this legendary Varonis merch. I also have a number of comments that I haven't responded to yet on our videos. Man, there is a lot that has gone out over the last couple of weeks. So if you've left a comment on one of our videos, in particular, some of the short ones, the one that blew up, of course, most, no pun intended, was the hacker explains why are electronics exploding in Lebanon. Lots and lots of views on this, a lot of conflicting opinions. Not sure I can address many, if not all of them, as a lot of them were borderline appropriate. But anyway, very cool to see a bunch of interaction on the chat. And yeah, no, thank you for all of that. So, all right, I think the most interesting thing coming up is going to be Hackaday SuperCon. Let me pull up some more information on that if you haven't heard of it. The most, let's see, this year, the most recent iteration of Hackaday SuperCon is doing a Best Badge add-on contest. So I kind of explained the concept of SAOs. They have some of these walls also that are like rigged to be able to show off like what they do. This was one of my favorite parts of last year, was getting to go by and seeing all the different examples, tons of different type of arts. Oh, this is just like a pickle. Oh yeah, it's pickle wreck. I get it. But yeah, it was cool to see all the different ways that people were able to spice up these little badges that were relatively simple. You know, they just get 3.3 volts ground, and then, you know, after that, it's kind of up to the creator to decide what they do. But yeah, this year, this contest is going to be really cool. You can expect to see a lot of interesting development, and I'm going to be participating in this contest. So that's coming up on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I believe, are the dates of Hackaday SuperCon. I'll be there in person. I am attempting to do a lightning talk there, so we'll see if that gets selected. But other than that, I'll probably be throwing something at Null Space Labs, as I usually do, usually just kind of a mixer or something for people who are attending the conference to check out the local hackerspace. So if you're in Pasadena, Los Angeles, or the surrounding area, definitely worth checking out and coming up terrifyingly soon. So I've already got my tickets booked, and hopefully I'll see some of y'all there. All right. This bag looks incredible. I want it. Yeah, it seems though like it's going to take several paychecks in order to actually make that bag fully or even halfway full. I think that it's got some great ideas, but it just looks so expensive to fill all the slots. I feel like currently I would only be able to fill maybe a quarter, maybe half of the slots on this bag, and I would need to do a lot of shopping in order to do this. So if somebody gets you this system for, I don't know, Christmas or something. It's almost like a challenge where you need to fill as many of them as possible. It's like a reverse version of one of those like holiday like calendars where you open each day and it's full of a gift. Like now, from now on, you need to fill one of these slots with like something that you purchased. So yes, it does. It looks like it looks pretty incredible, but it also looks like quite an obligation. Oh, and also thank you very much. I appreciate that. And every time I forget that so many people have seen like the Nullbyte channel or other things that me and my team have created, I'll go to a conference and then find someone who maybe found their path through InfoSec or found something they were really passionate about, or just got through something really boring. Yeah, I think that I don't know. I forget that it helps people to have examples of this sort of thing all the time. So I appreciate that. All right. So the question was, I love everything you do, and thank you for all the knowledge. Oh, right. How long did it take you to get to this level of knowledge? And did you get into hacking from very young? So let me switch away from this screen since I am the producer today. No, I did not start. I've been a computer user and not necessarily a computer like whisperer or administrator for very long. Most of the time I just learned to use computers to do things like photo editing, or just kind of got used to using computers a lot and kind of understanding how the general flow works. But I never really did anything related to like getting deep into any sort of technology except for jailbreaking iPhones and doing some of the stuff around mobile devices that I was really interested in. So I learned about concepts like SSH and like the command line and kind of like getting computers to do things that they weren't necessarily supposed to do very early. And I did get a lot of viruses, I'm sure. There were a lot of like installers I would open, it would just error out, and then the computer would run slow and hot after that. So I feel like I was the victim of many cybercrimes, maybe. But aside from that, I didn't really have any interaction with cybersecurity until I started learning about Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi was very important to me because I feel like data is like essential to doing basically anything. And learning how you could get free Wi-Fi in basically any circumstance was something that I really wanted to do. And as soon as I found out that was possible, I started doing deep dives, and that required me to learn a lot about the command line. It required me to learn about Python. And it also required me to learn about how networking works. So really where I started to become more of like a contributor rather than just a user is when I went back to school, probably I think like 6 or 7 years ago, and started learning about, again, like programming, networking, and microcontrollers. And once I was able to accrue a little bit of more formal education, even if a lot of that was just messing around in a supportive environment and learning from other people, even if those were students in some cases, I still feel like I learned enough to be able to understand what people were talking about. So even if it is things that are outside my immediate experience or outside above my pay grade, I have friends that are working on that sort of stuff all the time. I have hardcore hardware engineer friends. I have like people who are working on crazy like electronics. I have people who are working on software. Like I can go to them and ask questions for things that I don't understand. And I have to understand that even as like a Wi-Fi like B&E expert, that still excludes me from information on the higher end of like consumer Wi-Fi products, where like I know how to like break into Wi-Fi in like a lower level, on an authentication level, and from like a phishing level. I know a lot about Wi-Fi security, but there's still lots of things I don't know about like Wi-Fi products. Like what's the best Wi-Fi router to buy? I was kind of remarking earlier today that I don't know. Like I know which ones would be easier for me to break into and which ones would be harder. But on all the other features, like I actually don't know a lot about that because it's not really my field. Like I'm looking at sneaky ways of breaking in, not necessarily like product comparisons. So there's constantly things I don't know, and becoming cool with that has been difficult, especially when people always know more than you in a specific part of the field. But being a generalist is nice because it means you can learn about how things work overall. And if you learn in specific deep dives how things all come together, then you can kind of like build your own stuff or work with friends to build things that allow you to go outside your own experience and really like touch on much bigger concepts in cybersecurity. So yeah, like it's been cool to learn about cloud security this late in my career. It's been cool to learn about electronics, like way after I learned about Linux and command line and other things that were fundamental. So it took a very long time, but mostly I found that my own personal interests and then jobs that I had along the way allowed me to try things out in the real world enough that I knew better than just getting like a theoretical or academic education in some of these things. Obviously, going back to a supportive academic environment really helped, especially in the state of California where it's free. But balancing that with a real world job is very difficult for most people. And it definitely was for me. I was going to school part-time when I got hired at Varonis, and it was really hard to divide my time between the two. So that's probably one of the biggest things I miss now that I don't live next to a place that has free school or like a very high quality like academic institution right next to me. I miss being able to learn about things that I don't, that aren't immediately in my scope, so I can apply them. Like I really want to learn more about like neural networks and machine learning and being able to apply them to electronics I already use, because a lot of these electronics do support neural networks and like training and doing interesting things. But I have to accept that I don't know a lot about that yet. So I guess just, yeah, like it comes from being able to try on a bunch of different things in the real world, and then kind of like apply whatever experience you've had to be strong in a couple fields you enjoy. If you enjoy them, then it doesn't feel as much like work. So I guess that's my other piece of advice is if you pick a part of cybersecurity that you really don't like, after a while, it becomes very boring. So generalist position for me was the best way to prevent burnout, because doing the same thing over and over and over is very hard for me. Whereas creating this cool Wi-Fi visualization / hacking detecting clock is very stimulating and cool and fun. And it's also about like a week-long project that I can bring you along with if you want to check out how easy or difficult it is to make things, like actual physical things for a conference the way that I'm planning to do. I miss school so much because of access to cool equipment. Yeah, some of the most incredible things I've seen I saw at Pasadena City College. For example, like being able to prototype circuits by like creating a circuit and having like an other mill, like mill out a physical circuit in front of you and be able to attach that together and get it working in one day. Super, super cool. Like some of the awesome laser stuff I saw, like getting to do like welding stuff. Like I really miss some of the ability to access like the equipment that you just wouldn't have at home or wouldn't have the opportunity to combine in a cool project. So yeah, something I miss very much. Let's see. Is it possible to use an SDR to sniff in interesting signals, Wi-Fi and such? I'm sure it's as long as you can decrypt it, but what are your thoughts? So yeah, I really like software-defined radios, and the more expensive they get, the more the answer becomes yes. If you wanted to get something relatively simple, like a RTL SDR, that's going to be cheap, like less than $35, hopefully, then you're going to be able to sniff like, aircraft signals and like some other cool things, local radio frequencies, like walkie-talkies, that sort of thing. But you're not going to be able to see like higher frequency things like 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz. That's all going to be out of range. So for example, like my friend Angelina wanted to do some studying of the different packets that are being put out by different types of drones. And my friend Ash was also trying to do this. And we found very quickly that trying to monitor like a 5 gigahertz frequency on an RTL SDR is just not going to work. You're going to need something a little bit more expensive. Like a hack RF is something that we have one of that is able to do all sorts of frequencies. And for that, the answer would be yes. And you can do like injection and some other cool stuff as well. Now, obviously, if you're targeting like something specific like Wi-Fi, then just having a wireless radio that supports monitor mode is going to be the best way to go. And for that, we recommend like Panda Wireless and Alpha Wireless both have sections of Kali compatible wireless network adapters that are really excellent at what they do and great for monitoring signals. Why do I put my electronics in the microwave? I put my phone in the microwave and it still has signal. You shouldn't look to me for advice on storing electronics. I put my electronics in the microwave because I think it's funny. And while it does create a little bit of a Faraday cage, and yes, like microwaves do use 2.4 gigahertz, so it should theoretically block out like Wi-Fi. I just think it's a great way to, purge your electronics if you ever have to. Now, do I recommend microwaving a lithium battery in your microwave? No, I do not. Do I recommend storing your electronics in a way that could potentially cause them to be accidentally microwaved? No, it's like when my mom stored cigarettes in the oven and then got surprised when someone preheated it. It's not a good idea. So yeah, you should not put stuff like that in a microwave. I don't recommend it. And in general, it is something that I do because I think it's funny and I refuse to explain myself any further. Hello, Kody and all hackers. Yes, hello to any other hackers on the stream. Although I think most of us here would consider ourselves that. All right, let's see. Japan just dropped a new 6 gigahertz network. It's fast. Okay, yeah, I would see these are updates that I occasionally miss and sometimes have to go back to the drawing board to read. And, as somebody that tries to stay up on Wi-Fi hacking, like I read other Wi-Fi security researchers. I try to stay up on like really big things that have like exploits or code or anything available to try out. And occasionally I will try out proof of concepts that I see online. I very rarely will have people reach out to me and try to send me like proof of concepts. And if you are that guy that did that, I'm still working on it. It's just, when the code's not public or when it hasn't been thoroughly vetted by other people, I work very slowly and on devices I don't care about. But anyway, I do test out new tools and try to stay current. But yeah, like every once in a while, I feel like I'm missing out on like a new product feature or something that I definitely want to stay up on. So I will check out these 6 gigahertz if it is in fact legal in the United States, because there are some channels that they can use that we cannot, just as a result of the way that spectrums are licensed in different countries. I see all kinds of cool stuff with the RTL 433, like alarm systems, RF remotes, car tire temperature, pressure monitors, and weather stations. Yeah, no, I'm really interested in more tracking of those sorts of things. I think that being able to record that information and geolocate it is really interesting, because in some ways it's very similar to doing like license plate tracking. Like you can target a specific vehicle or specific hardware on board a specific vehicle, maybe even just Bluetooth accessory that someone's wearing, and you can geolocate them the same way that Wiggle does for Wi-Fi, cellular, and other types of devices. So yeah, I think that being able to expand the types of signals you can collect and map is going to be revolutionary, because it provides so much insight into what people are doing, where they're driving, where they're going, like what kinds of activities they're doing while they have these devices on them. It astounds me that most of these like devices don't have any sort of variation. They emit the same signal all the time. They're super trackable, and it's easy to start tracking them. So yeah, there's a lot of hardware out there to begin doing so. All right, so that's about all the time we have for today. Again, sorry for the potato quality today. Our Restream studio continues to pull the rug out under us, removing random features, or in this case, making it so that we can't broadcast in anything other than low quality. So hope you enjoyed the stream today, and if you want to check out our Friday stream, hopefully we will be back to normal by then. Killian from the Varonis channel will be there to talk about the news of the week, and I'll be talking about our cloud security lab, unless we have some more breaking Varonis security. Last week, we actually covered some really interesting and, in my opinion, very crazy research that our Varonis Threat Labs team did, where they were able to use a vulnerability in Salesforce public links to expose data that was not supposed to be exposed, character by character, by brute forcing it. So we talked about the ways that you could use some of the tools we covered in the week before, that being Burp Suite, to do these sorts of attacks, but seeing it in the wild and seeing how you could construct like private or privileged information that was supposed to be restricted, but was accidentally being exposed via these public endpoints. That's exactly what Burp Suite is for. So kind of an advanced example, but I wanted to spend some time covering it last week because I just thought it was such a cool way of showing how Burp Suite and cloud security can come together to create the perfect storm for exfiltrating information that should be restricted, but actually isn't. All right, everyone, that's all we have for this week. I will see you on the Friday stream where we're going to talk about the news of the week. Plenty to go over. And if you see any interesting news, feel free to jump on the Discord server in order to let us know. I've appreciated everybody that has participated in doing that. And if you want to support the stream, per always, you can visit our sponsor site, varonis.com/Kody. That's Kody. It lets everybody at Varonis know that you appreciate the stream and you want us to keep going, and it's free for you to do. All right. See you on Friday, everyone. Goodbye.